How to Create the Universe, The God Series Book 32, by Mike Hockney. This free audiobook series has been brought to you by the Foundation of Illuministic Guides. Contact the Foundation publicly as The Phoenix, at tinyurl.com/foundation322. Check our Foundation page at tinyurl.com/foundation323. And we have a posting group with many books and resources at tinyurl.com/foundation324. For the complete books that will be covered in this series, see tinyurl.com/Hockney322. Remember, there are many truths within lies and lies within fact. Truth is relative to the observer. The sign of a seeker is the quest for the truth. In that sign you shall conquer. Find the path in your own quest for the Gnostic grail of illumination. Choose wisely. We will be watching you. In a Hockney, Chapter 4, The Soul. Consider a single monadic, mathematical soul. Consider a universe comprising just this one monad. What would it be like? Imagine the monad as a set of nested, concentric circles, or spheres if we consider higher dimensionality, or radiating out from a central, logical point. This originating point has logical necessity, but it is not an actual thing. There is no such thing as an energy wave at zero. A static point has no existence. Rather, the logical point provides the focus around which the principle of sufficient reason can build its logical set of circles or spheres. The logical point is of course the nothingness singularity, the point where all static points reside, and do absolutely nothing. A complete and consistent set of circles and spheres constitutes the single monad. The monad encapsulates all of the laws of ontological mathematics. That is, each and every monad is an autonomous expression of the whole of mathematics. It's exactly because each and every monad identically contains all of the laws of mathematics that monads can interact with each other with mathematical perfection in every conceivable situation. There is never any doubt, uncertainty, a causation, indeterminism, probability or statistics. That is none of the ridiculous things on which modern science is now irrationally predicated. Every one of the Euler circles in a monad is essential to every other. They form a complete, unbreakable set. They belong exclusively to that monad, and not to any other. This has the most astounding consequences. You, as a monadic soul, experience reality solely via your Euler circles, via your own unique set of sines and cosines. These are your qualia. Only you can know what it's like to experience the content carried by your waves. You can never directly experience what another person is experiencing, although you can of course deploy empathy to get a good idea. Empathy is really just a means of establishing an analogy between what you are experiencing and what you imagine another is experiencing, if they are anything like you. However, one of the enormous problems with empathy is that it's useless in relation to people who have a very different worldview. You have no way of knowing how they will experience things, how they will think, how they will respond. That's exactly why the world is full of conflict, and why people are so often surprised by others' reactions. Rationalism is much more powerful than empathy, but requires everyone to be rational. If we were all rational, we would know what everyone else would do, because we would all do the rational thing. But humanity is nothing like that. A monad's internal waves are its own thoughts, conveying content, information, sensations, perceptions, feelings, ideas, qualia, content, which are all subjective experiences of energy. A monad is an entity that mathematically experiences itself. This is a living entity. Mind and life always go together. However, it is not a true self, but, rather, a potential self. It's something like a human baby. A vast amount of mental activity is occurring in a baby's mind, but there's no consciousness, no I, to direct it all. Consciousness is mostly a social construct, deriving from the acquisition of language. Humans are the only conscious animals in our world because we are the only species with a complex language capability. The very structure of a sentence contributes to consciousness. As soon as you can say, I did that, and I did this, and she did that and she did this, you have constructed the means to differentiate yourself from the other person, and take ownership of your deeds, and plan new deeds. As soon as you can say, I will do X in 10 years' time, you have shown a remarkable capacity to plan for a far distant future, which may never arrive for you, if you die before then. Animals can plan a few minutes into the future, or usually just a second or two. The eye is like an avatar in a computer game. With your imagination, You can put it in all manner of virtual realities, scenarios, and imagine what will happen to it. You can do this because you have a conceptual framework, a language, that allows you to frame imaginary worlds, just like those in novels, into which you can insert yourself. I would be a complete abstraction, a kind of zombie, if it were not for the fact that all of your thoughts come as experiences. As you imagine future scenarios, your feelings are engaged in the present instant. You have a visceral response. You regard your adventures in the imagination as real, in the same way that you regard a great novel or movie as real as you experience it. You suspend your disbelief. Mathematics is mind. Mathematics is life. There is no other possible answer. To think, which is what you are doing all the time, is to have experiences. You experience your thoughts. You experience the content conveyed by your sinusoidal thoughts. This is inescapable. You always get an experience with your thoughts. That's why the universe is alive, and not just a bunch of dead atoms. As science claims, we live inside a giant cosmic mind, and we ourselves are autonomous nodes in that mind. If we called the cosmic mind God, we would have a system not unlike the empirical idealism of the philosopher Bishop Berkeley. But since empiricism is just the experiential flip side of rationalism, we can easily convert Berkeley's empirical idealism into the rational idealism of Leibniz and Hegel. We can underpin Berkeley's philosophy with hard mathematics rather than some airy-fairy God. We are extremely far from the Kansas of scientific materialism. We alone have given a rational account of mind, life, qualia and consciousness, and shown how they're all rooted in mathematics. Scientists and followers of mainstream religion are as clueless as each other. When it comes to ultimate reality, the science mythos is even more irrational and absurd than the religious mythos, even more contemptuous of the principle of sufficient reason. God, as a concept, can easily be turned into ontological mathematics. Scientific randomness cannot be. There is no rational basis for indeterminism, a causation, uncertainty, indeterminacy, ontological probability, unreal wave functions, and so on. There is no reason and no possible way for existence to randomly and miraculously jump out of nothing, as science would have us believe. Why is science so irrational? Because it's all about the senses, and not about reason, logic and intellect. In that case, why does science work? Because it illegitimately uses rationalist mathematics. Take away mathematical rationalism and science is rendered 100% useless. It really is as simple as that. Humanity gets so many things wrong because the average person simply isn't equipped to make a conceptual leap from a sinusoidal wave to a thought and life. Look at science. It ridiculously tries to squeeze mind out of mindless atoms, and life out of lifeless atoms. Never going to happen. It's a category error. It's literally impossible. Whatever you define as the basis of existence must also be the basis of mind and life. The ancient Greeks understood that. Modern scientists have no understanding at all. They're hopeless. Why shouldn't an eternal wave be the basis for thoughts and life? What could possibly be a better candidate? Sherlock Holmes said, once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth. In the case of waves equals thoughts, it's not improbable at all. It's exactly the right thing, if we are to accept that we live in a rational, intelligible world with an explanation. Humanity has always regarded math as a weird, unreal abstraction. Only a few geniuses here and there have realized otherwise. Mathematics is the most concrete thing of all. Eternally concrete. Thoughts and numbers. What could be more bizarre to an ordinary human mind? Reality is just an enormous numerical system, relentlessly solving and optimizing itself. Numbers equals frequencies equals energies. Why is math so good at describing the world? Because the world is mathematical. Why are numbers exactly the right things to measure the world? Because the world is made of numbers. As soon as you realize that thoughts, numbers, life, energy, motion, frequencies and waves are all ways of talking about the same thing, it's obvious why mathematics is the explanation for everything. Eugene Wiener spoke of the unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics in the natural sciences. There's nothing at all unreasonable about mathematics being the explanation of everything. What could be more reasonable? That is more concerned with reason. What is unreasonable is the belief in some bizarre, unexplained, indefinable things called matter, which is the basis of the natural sciences. How can you make anything reasonable out of such an unreasonable notion? Here's a simple task for any scientist. Try to imagine defining atoms without making any reference at all to mathematics. You would end up with the speculations of the ancient Greek atomists, involving a system that had no useful consequences at all until people started applying mathematics to atomic theory. As soon as you apply mathematics to anything, you make it infinitely better.